Now let's create our texture for the jumpsuit. So in order to be able to see what we're doing a little bit better, let's go ahead and turn off some of these other pieces of geometry. So I'm going to turn off the padding, the medallion. Let's go ahead and turn off the gold and the wood and also the cowl and the sashes. All right, so we're left with the jumpsuit here, which we can now see. So there are a couple of different types of materials that I want to include on this. On the main part of the jumpsuit, I want this to be sort of a rough, kind of velvety, kind of velour type of a look with a pattern on it. And then for this bit coming down here, I want this to be more of a satin kind of a trim look. Okay, so two completely different looks as far as the shininess and the color goes. And so we need to make sure to make those separations. So first, let's build out the sort of main pattern for the body of the jumpsuit. Okay, and as we're going through this is going to be a great opportunity for you to kind of make it your own and do your own thing. So let's go in here and want to make sure that we have the jump temp selected. And you can see right now there's no layers. There's one empty paint layer and that's it. There's nothing here. And so what we want to do first is go ahead and add another fill layer. And this is going to allow us to insert different procedurals and patterns to use in combination to create our jumpsuit pattern. And so I want a repeating pattern on this with a black background. And so on the fill layer, I'm going to leave all of these turned on. And on the base color, I'm going to come over and there are several places that we can look for this. And so I'm going to give you the option to kind of do whatever it is that you want to do. If we go into procedurals over here and we kind of scroll down, you'll start to see a bunch of repeating patterns. If you hover over these, you'll see what that pattern is. Here is, this one's called fabric cross rounded, and it's sort of an atom with a circle around it. This one down here, it's sort of a medieval pyramid, it's what it's called. And so you could choose any of these and you would put them onto the base color. So for instance, you could take this fabric cross rounded, drop it onto the base color, and here you can see it. All right. Now, in order to tile this, you can see there are some parameters here. So you can tile this like that. As you increase that tile amount, you can see the tiling. You can also scale the individual patterns. And so you want to create something that is the look that you want. So the image that you want, as well as the positioning. Now, if you don't like any of these patterns, which come with the tiling enabled here, you can go ahead and X that out. There's a bunch there that you can choose from, but there are also, if you go into your alphas, there are several of these that you could choose as well. Okay, and these are single images. So for instance, here I have an atom. There's actually one that I'm going to search for, and it's called circular stick is the one that I used. And so I'm going to go ahead and drag this in. It's going to be a little bit different. So this is a single instance of it. Now, if you look down here under parameters, we can start to change the parameters, but it's only affecting that individual instance of that alpha versus the tiling ones that we saw in procedural. And so what we can do here is go up to scale, and I'm going to increase the scale, and you can see that has the effect of sort of tiling this particular image. Now we can also go back in, and any of those changes that we make will affect each particular one. And so I'm going to take the number of these maybe down to 5 or 6. And then, you can choose the sort of offset that you have, the length of the bars. You can also change the width. And so get a pattern, whether it is an alpha or whether it is in the procedurals, find a pattern that you like and set it up inside of the color of the fill layer. Okay. Now you'll notice it's using the UV map. And so there will be places where you can see the UV seams, but we've placed the seams in such a way that most of those are going to be hidden based on things like the sash. Okay. But right now we're not looking at that. And so we also want to change the sort of smoothness. All that's happening now is the color. And so we can come in here And you can see the roughness is turned on. So this will allow us to come down and drive the roughness. So if we scroll down here, this is where the roughness is. I'm going to actually increase that roughness to something that is a little bit closer to what we want. So we really want it to be nice and rough. We'll give ourselves a little bit of a sheen to it right there. Okay. Now I want this pattern to not only be colored, but I also want it to be slightly depressed. So I want there to be, this is sort of a velour fuzz, and this is sort of pressed into it, into the surface a little bit as part of the detailing. And so what we can do then is go back to the whatever alpha or pattern that you used, go back and get the same one. Let me close the parameters here. And we're going to drop it not only into base color where we have it already, but we're also going to drop it into the height. So go back and get your same pattern, drag it into the height as well. And then you want to just match up your parameters. So I've got 5, 0.26, 0.28. So I'm just going to match these up. 5, 0.26, 0.28. And the bar width is 0.02. So right now you can see that it's sort of raising up those areas because those are white and the pattern is black. The rest of it's black. So what I'm going to do is invert this so that they're actually pushed into the surface a little bit. So now we not only have the pattern, but we have it pushed in. And if it's pushed in too much, you can always come in, go ahead and add a filter. And under filter, let's go ahead and choose height adjustment. And here we can come in and adjust that height down a little bit if it's too much. Okay. And the way that we're working, we're staying pretty far away. So it's not like we're getting super close to this, but we are going to render this. And so we do want it to be as detailed as possible. Now we have the base laid out. And if you don't like the fact that it's white on black, you can also color that as well. So you could adjust the sort of the blending here. You could make that black down here and blend it together. You could also do some adjustments and add colors as well. But I like the black and white. And then I want to add like a purple satin trim. And so we need to create a completely new layer for this. So let's go ahead and create a new fill layer. And this layer, I want to turn purple. So we'll go ahead and in the base color, I'm going to choose kind of a deep purpley kind of a color. All right. And then also the roughness, I'll actually dial that down a little bit. And the metallic, I want to dial that up a bit. Give it more of a satiny kind of a look. Okay. And you can play with the roughness values, maybe something like that. And you can maybe brighten up the color a bit. So something more like that. And so we have this entire thing purple. You can still see the bump coming through from this. So I'm going to drag this purple underneath. And then I'm going to take this layer and let's add a mask. And so we can mask out the areas that are the bump and the alpha. And so let's go ahead and add a white mask, which shows everything. And now we can come in and mask out those black areas to show the trim. So we'll just paint those out, following that line all the way around. And then not only up here on the upper part, but let's also do a line kind of down on the leg. You can kind of see the line here on this one where I'm following along. And if you want to do kind of trim in any other areas, go for it. We're just masking out one material so that we can see another. And you can see on this side, it's in the light. If you go over to the other side and you find that you cannot really see the line very well because of the HDR, the light source is on the other side, you can hold down Shift and right click to move the light source around a little bit. So we could move it around here and be able to see what we're doing on this side. And then we could go back in and start to finish out our masking. All right. And we're just going up until we get under the sash. And so there you can see the surface properties of both of those are completely different. Here it's more matte. We have the pattern on it, and then we have the shiny trim there. And you can make that whatever color you want, and also make the pattern whatever you want for the pattern. So once we've got that, the next thing that we will do is add some material and texture for the padding. So let's go ahead and do that next.